Good evening. I would like to call this meeting of the Gonzales Unified School District Board of Trustees, regular meeting of Tuesday, March 8th to order at 6 p.m. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Present? Present.
Here.
Present.
Okay. Moving on to item 3, approval of agenda. Oops, where we at? Can I get?
So move, Araceli.
Second, Cuevas? It was moved by Ms. Cuevas, moved by Ms. Flores, second by Ms. Cuevas. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the minutes, item 4, approval of the minutes from 2/22/22.
So move, Araceli.
Moved by Ms. Flores. Second by Ms. Cuevas. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, public comments on closed session items to allow public comment prior to the board's consideration of any closed session agenda items. Government Code 54954.3. Closed session items 6.1, public employees employment, Government Code Section 54957. Item 6.2, public employee discipline dismissal release, Government Code Section 54957, action. And 6.3, public employees discipline dismissal release, Government Code 54957, action. Do we have any public comment?
For a closed session, no. Oh, not on the agenda. Okay, no.
Yeah.
You apologize. No public comment,
No public comment on any of the closed session items. We're going to go ahead and adjourn to closed session. We should be reconvening at 6:30. Thank you. Thank you for being here so early. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, members of the public, members of our city council as well, and our district officials, and our legal Daniel. Thank you for being here this evening. We're going to go ahead and reconvene to open session. Action item 8, action taken. So the board has taken action to release probationary and temporary employees in the following positions by a vote of 5-0. And item 6.2, probationary certificate employees 131094, employee 158340, and employee 158394. For item 6.3, temporary certificated employees, employee ID number 158434, 158440, employee ID number 146104, ID number 158311, and 158510. That is all the action that was taken. Before we convene to our flag salute, I do want to take a moment to recognize recently our district lost a longtime employee, a friend, many would say a family member because she's been such a longstanding member of our family, because that's what we are. Our librarian, Miss Lily Benavides, passed, and from the board, we would like to send our condolences to our family, and I would like to take a moment of silence to recognize her. Thank you, everybody. We are going to go ahead and move on to item 9, the flag salute. Ms. Flores, can you lead us in the flag salute?
Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on, item 10, public comments. At this time, members of the public may address the board on topics that are under the jurisdiction of the board. For public comments on items not on the agenda, the board may not discuss or take action during this meeting. Education Code 35145.5. Comments from the public shall be limited to 3 minutes on any topic. The board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it chooses to waive the item limited to a particular item. And just for a point of reference as well, we have our board governance handbook located at the table as well, if anybody would like to have one for that. So we'll, public comments.
Okay, so first public comment is from Elida Gonzales. Is she here? Not yet? Okay. I do have a public comment that was emailed. Dear Governing Board for the Gonzales Unified School District, I would like to publicly thank and express my appreciation for Superintendent Irving, just specifically regarding the presentation she made at the Fairview Gymnasium on Thursday, March 3rd. It was very useful, informative, and easy to understand. Our school district has improved because of her work as superintendent. I am so grateful for her leadership during the difficult time of COVID and helping our district adapt so we can continue to educate the children of our community. Our school district is better off because Superintendent Irving, I hope she is willing and able to remain as our district superintendent for many years to come. Thank you for all you do, Superintendent Irving. Claudia Carvajal Villamizar.
It's going to be translated into Spanish as well at the podium.
Oh, okay.
Don't we have a translator?
He's setting up. He's setting up.
And she's good.
Yeah, I want that everyone, todos los que hablan español, quiero que escuchen mi comentario. no sé. Para la mesa directiva y el distrito de González, quiero hacer público mis gracias y expresar mi apreciación para la superintendente Irving, específicamente en cuanto a la presentación que hizo en el gimnasio de la Fairview el jueves 3 de marzo. Fue muy informativa y fácil de entender para toda nuestra comunidad. Gracias por colocarlo en un lenguaje simple para la gente que habla español, para poderla entender. Nuestro distrito ha hecho muchísimas mejorías gracias a su trabajo y al equipo de todo el distrito, a la oficina y a todos. Y también estoy agradecida por su leadership durante los tiempos de COVID. Ha ayudado a nuestros estudiantes y al distrito a adaptarse en nuestros tiempos tan difíciles, y ha hecho personalmente, mis hijos están muy agradecidos porque han mejorado a como hace 4 años estaba esta escuela o hace 3 años. Nuestro distrito está mucho mejor por el trabajo que ha hecho usted y su equipo, y espero que por favor siga con nosotros por muchos, muchos años más. Muchas gracias por todo su trabajo y su esfuerzo.
Elida, is Elida here? No. So that will conclude public comments for non-agenda items.
Moving on to communications. Item 11.1, Gonzales Teachers Association, GTA report.
I believe Ms. Ayala is joining us via Zoom. Ms. Ayala, are you there? We had a face-to-face meeting at 5 o'clock, so it could be that she's still en route on her way home.
Can you let us know if she joins me?
Thank you.
11.2, California School Employees Association, CSCA report.
Eva, is Eva on?
Lopez.
Eva, but I'm not sure if that's her. Eva, is that you? Eva just without a last name.
So Ms. Lopez from CSEA, are you on the line? Or Ms. Hernandez, your communications officer? Nope. Okay.
Okay,
Lupita Ayala is back on.
So GTA is back.
okay, so we'll go to 11.1, Gonzales Teachers Association, GTA report.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have much to report today. GTA did go with Mr. Galicia to, well, not go with him, but we did attend the virtual fair, job fair for CSUMB.
Sita, do you mind starting over, because it seems like your microphone wasn't on our end, and so we
Oh,
missed the
okay.
beginning of your presentation. Sorry.
Sure. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. I don't have much to report tonight. Dr. Galicia had invited us, GTA, to attend the CSUMB job fair with him, virtual job fair. I did go. It wasn't very successful, but it was a good experience. And just to see kind of what is out there, potential teachers. And so I'm hoping that, there's some upcoming virtual fairs that we can attend as well, and get some candidates in. Besides that, we really don't have much else to report. I've met with HR this month, as well as Superintendent Irving, and continue to just collaborate on giving GT. They have been receptive to hearing GTA's thoughts regarding COVID, the protocols for COVID compensation, and masks updates. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sita. And nobody from CSA has jumped on. Moving on to item 11.3, Gonzales Youth Commissioners Report.
Sherlyn?
No. Okay, moving on to 11.4, Student Board Member. Is our student board member present? Student board member
Is
present.
Andrew or Holly online? Okay.
Okay. Item 11.5, La Gloria Elementary School District, and I know I see Mr. Demick here.
Well, good evening, School Board, President and Superintendent Irving. Well, first, we're on the tail end of concluding our student council elections. Students prepared some great platforms that we talked about last time, and we posted those in the rooms. And the kids, I think we have 2 more rooms to vote on those platforms. So pretty exciting stuff. We had about 30 essays turned in from our 5th graders. So, and we're going to go with about probably 4 to 6 of those. So it's my hope to bring them to a future board meeting to kind of discuss briefly what we're going to be working on for the rest of the year. Our second PTA Association meeting will take place tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And they're going to be planning our March 25th family dance. And there will be a Zoom link sent to parents again tomorrow. If people are watching this, they can join from home. And as far as professional development, we're gearing up to send staff who have served on the district's technology committee to the Q conference next week. And we'll also have our dual language immersion teachers attending a series of webinars regarding best practices with dual immersion classrooms starting next week as well. And right now we're kind of gearing up to go to the preschools to deliver flyers for our second TK Kinder registration night. The first one was in December. We started early this year. And the next one's coming up April 6th at 6 o'clock in our cafeteria. So those are some current things that we have underway.
Thank you, Mr. Demick. Any questions from the board? Jose, questions? No? Maria? Caesar? No? Thank you, Mr. Demick. Moving on to item 11.6, Fairview Middle School Report. Mr. Malagon.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Yvette, and community at home. Buenas noches. Miguel Malagón, Fairview Principal, and I'm here to give you a short report of what's going on at Fairview Middle School. So I did also have the opportunity to attend the virtual fair for on the 24th. We did talk to a few people, and I've been in contact with 2 of the candidates that we probably are looking into for next year. So it was not a whole lot of them, but we were able to connect with some students there, possible teachers for next year. On March 25th, our FMS had our dance, and it was a blast. We had a lot of fun. Our kids were excited, and they had fun there. On the 1st and the 2nd, March 1st and 2nd, they also completed the Healthy Kids Survey. So we complete that at FMS. We want to thank GHS for hosting the 8th grade orientation. It was also a success. Our students were super happy to be here and looking forward to become Spartans. So that was a great event. We had on the 3rd, we had the PD on social and emotional for admins and staff members. So that was also a big success for us. And that's need training that we still need for our staff. So thank you for everybody that was involved on that committee. We had a tournament this last weekend. I want to thank all the teachers that volunteered their time to go and help supervise and support our students. I also want to thank all the parents who were there supporting our students and also doing some fundraising for the 8th grade committee. A lot of some community members were also there supporting. Mr. Ayon and Mrs. Ayon, they were also supporting in the helping in the door. So thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. And our students support that a lot. I appreciate that a lot as well. Thank you. We won second place for the 6 and 7 team, and our 8th graders took the championship. So we're super proud of them on that. Thank you. Cafecitos is still going on in the morning. So we had our monthly cafecito today. We had less teachers than usual. Maybe some of our parents are going back to work. I'm not sure, but we had a little less. So we're still encouraging our parents to show up to our cafecitos. There is a lot of good information there. And finally, just wanted to let people know that PTCA and 8th grade committee are helping to get the end of the year celebration for our students. So anything that we can do to support them will be greatly appreciated. Thank you. That's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the coaches as well. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know.
Thank you, Mr. Malagon. Jose, any questions? Ms. Cuevas? Caesar?
Wonderful game.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Malagon. 11.7, Gonzales High School report. We have Mr. Ocampo.
All right, good afternoon, board members, board president, Superintendent Irving, committee members, those here and those online. My name is Mr. Ocampo, assistant principal. I have the privilege of saying that I'm the assistant principal at the Gonzales High School. Couple things that I wanted to share with y'all. We'll try to keep this in 90 seconds because there's a lot to share. First is we wanted to kind of speak to the Innovation Center ribbon cutting, and Ms. Irving, I apologize, I'll keep it brief in case you're going to include it in your presentation.
Notice that light there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So we had the innovation ribbon cutting. That was phenomenal to see the kiddos in action with parents engaged, the different activities that we have. We've got really great plans for that center, not just this year, but for years to come, and how we're going to incorporate our students, our teachers, and some real hands-on activities. So just wanted to shout that out. As Mr. Malagon mentioned, we had our 8th grade, well, 9th grade incoming orientation. Kind of an orientation. Students came over, they got to enjoy some hands-on activities with all of our, it was great to see not just our core, which is ELA, math, science, social science, but to see our CTE as well, showcase some of their work. Students and families were engaged, asking questions. They came up to Soriano and I a couple times and said, wow, we offer this. We do. Computer science. It was great to see a young group of ladies in the computer science arena. So that was phenomenal. Just a shout out to our teachers, our students, our clubs, our sports. Also want to make sure I don't miss anyone. Our counselors, Ms. Camacho, Ms. Ayala, Ms. Perez, pretty much everyone had a hand in making this happen. So if I don't announce you, I apologize. It's not intent. It's not on purpose. But again, just wanted to showcase that. We had Dr. Joelle Hood meet with 28 of our students. These were students across the Gonzales Youth Council, the ASB leadership team. So they talked about leadership capacity, about empathy. It was great to understand, to hear that Dr. Joelle Hood spoke to the students about that, school culture and so forth. Also wanted to mention forgive me, but I'm gonna get on my phone here. We have a couple of activities going on in sports. We have a busy spring season. So this week, we've got varsity baseball at Anzar. We've got softball at RLS on Wednesday, boys tennis against Gilroy on Wednesday. Thursday, we've got again varsity baseball against Anzar, boys tennis against PG. And then Friday, we've got softball. Our ladies are playing against St. Francis. So if you get a chance, I know these are some away games, but it's always great to have staff and teachers and community out there supporting our student athletes. So that is my report. Oh, forgive me. One very important one, if not probably the most important. Well, they're all important. Let me paraphrase that. So we had March, KOM put out an article, March 22nd, Student of the Month winner. Our very own Gonzales High School student, Miss Jasmine Villaseñor. She was identified as the KION Student of the Month. So congratulations to Miss Jasmine, if you're out there. That concludes my 90 seconds.
I have a,
It's good, Mike.
wow, impressive. Just for those of us that weren't able to make the cutting ceremony of the Innovation Center, is there another way that maybe for us and parents and other, members in the community, even our fellow city council members could come and, learn and see what the Innovation Center is about?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
We
definitely.
schedule- Is that just contact your office or?
Yeah, so I would say contact the front office, and then we can definitely schedule some time for our community and our leaders to take a look at the Innovation Center. Might spark some collaborative conversations amongst industry partners and so forth.
Maria, did you have any questions?
Thank you.
Cesar?
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Mr. Ocampo.
Track, all sports, yes. I don't know about track. I don't know that they have any scheduled games. It's not on my radar. If it's not there, my apologies.
I have a track meet on Saturday
Track meet on Saturday, there we go.
at 9. My son's in charge.
Moving on to item 11.8, Superintendent's Report.
So Ms. Silva is returning. She's going to be pulling up my superintendent's report momentarily. You see her running into the desk. So as we begin this evening, as always, I'd like to start with expressions of gratitude. What you see in front of you is one of the models of the Gonzales Spartans new. It's a combination scoreboard, but it also has a video component. So I'm not quite sure if it is a scoreboard. But what we are looking at is, as with the Measure K funding, we are replacing our scoreboard at the Dick Force Field so that, in fact, on graduation day, it will also show our students as they are walking up to the podium and also the university that they'll be attending. I want to express my gratitude to Dr. James Drake and Jared Soriano, Trini Zavala, all of whom have done the legwork on this and who convene a meeting with community members and partners to get their input. As we continue, I also would like to extend gratitude to both Dr. James Drake and Jared Soriano for the implementation of the GHS Korean Club. Dr. Drake is in tune with those things that are part of pop culture at this time. And BTS and the entire Korean focus among adolescents is important. So through his efforts, we've partnered with the Korean consulate to provide a Korean language and culture class. Here in French, you see the teacher who was actually present this past Thursday, and we are hoping to continue this class every Thursday until the end of the school year. Another expression of gratitude is for Fairview and Mr. Paul Dietrich, Mr. Malagon. They actually have indulged my request to start our participation in esports. Last week, Fairview was actually in competition with a team from Alaska. Much like golf, esports is an enormous fountain of scholarships that go uncollected. And it also implements both computer science, which is a CTE course here, or CTE pathway here at GHS. And it also helps to support the district as we're focusing on math scores. Continuing, we also want to give a shout out to our social workers. This is National Social Workers Month. I also would like to add that we give a shout out to our own board member, Araceli Flores. She is to be celebrated along with Miss Alicia Trentelman and Miss Christina Perez. We are in the process of hiring our third social worker who will be joining GHS. Once again, I need to just express what a difference it is to have a school site and a district with this level of support for our students' mental health. So I look forward to celebrating during the month of March. As Mr. Ocampo said, we also had a very successful ribbon cutting for GHS Explorations Innovation Center. You see our own board member Ione there competing at a chess game with a La Gloria student. But it was a very engaging night. I really want to emphasize our gratitude to the student docents who actually demonstrated and showed us the different equipment and projects that were going on within the Exploration Innovation Center. As we continue, just a brief update on COVID-19. As the community may have heard, masks are now off community-wide, but they remain in place until March 14th in school districts. Tomorrow, I have been told that Monterey County Public Health will be following up with additional guidance. As per the majority of districts in Monterey County and under the guidance of the Monterey County Office of Education, GUSD will try to align as closely as possible. If in fact the local health department continues to support that it is safe enough to not require masks within building, we will make sure that that option is available, as well as PPE to staff, students, and any community members on site. Moving on with upcoming events. This Saturday, Mr. Soriano and I are going to be meeting with our parent community in the library here at GHS. Both our social workers, as well as our academic coaches and intervention specialists, have been putting together a presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about the pathway to college. This is a similar conversation that we had with our Padres a Padre meeting on February 24th. I also want to make sure that the community is aware that Ed Services, under the leadership of Yolanda Barba, has posted on our website a survey regarding potential interest in a virtual academy. This is a suggestion that had been brought forth by a parent who was not yet comfortable this year putting their children back in a physical school environment. We were asked to gauge community interest and in fact consider if this is a viable option for GUSD. One of the things that is important to both the board as well as myself is expanding parent options. This also is a way in which the district can also continue to maintain our average daily enrollment. And most importantly, in conversation with districts south of us, South County, there are no potential plans at this time. There is a virtual academy attached to Salinas City Elementary School District. It currently takes students from the peninsula as well as Salinas itself, and started with 150 kids. And in our visit this past week, they have already doubled in size. They are over 300. So please make sure that you pull up our Q code and let us know what your thinking is around the virtual academy. As already mentioned, we had our GUSD State of the District as per the board's request. This occurred last Thursday at our joint use gym. I have live linked the title in this slide, which is posted on our website. I encourage all community members to look not only at the challenges the district has faced over the last 3 years, but also the accomplishments. You will see not only a video with a photo repast of events we've participated in, but you will see also outside measurements from both the California Department of Education as well as other educational partners who have gauged the progress of our students as well as our departments. And that concludes my presentation for this evening.
Any questions?
Thank you, Superintendent, for your presentation. Just want to briefly again, we are also celebrating, I believe, today's International Women's Day. So to all the women in our lives, thank you for all that you do. And so with that, I want to, show my gratitude of expressions as well to all the women here in our district that, lead on a daily basis our district. In particular, our superintendent, I did get a chance to watch your community meeting on Friday. And a lot of good information was presented to the community. I hope that our parents and leaders here in the community really take time to, watch the video, watch the presentation, and realize the amount of work that our superintendent, along with the previous board and this current board, and all the leaders here in our district have engaged in these last 4 years. And all of that, just imagine, was done in a pandemic. So it's impressive the work that all of you as a team have, collaborated to to accomplish for the sake of our students. You know, that's what we're here for. So thank you for that. Also, in regards to the Saturday presentation, is it okay that we attend, or can we? I don't know if that's,
It is a presentation. It is not a board meeting,
Okay.
nor will it be touching on anything that board could take action on.
perfect. And that's it for now. Thank you.
Ms. Cuevas? Questions? Thank you very much. Moving on to action items. Item 12 on the agenda. 12.1 is approval to ratify the listed contracts entered into by the superintendent on behalf of the district as per board policy 3312 as of March 1st, 2022. Staff report?
Routine submittal to the board regarding contracts we've engaged in.
Any public comment on 12.1? No. Public comment? Board questions? Jose, any questions?
No.
No board questions. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Move. I got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.2, adoption of resolution number 2021-22-16, calling for a regular biannual election for the purpose of electing members of the governing board on November 8th, 2022. Staff report?
So this is also routine in an election year. We have 3 board members who will be up for election: Board Member Flores, Board Member Cuevas, and Board Member Lopez.
We do have a public comment. 2 public comments. First is Roman Barba on 12.2.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. So I was heavily involved in the last election. I just wondered, do you know of anybody that's running for the 3 seats that are going to be up? Or just asking if anybody in our community is going to be running for school board, if you know anybody that's running,
We don't have that information.
Yeah, I don't even think the election is just open for.
if anybody's even tried to approach the school district on that they want to run.
We don't have any information of that nature yet, Mr. Barba, and I
Okay.
believe that the date when the candidates need to express interest is June 1st.
Okay, that's the only thing I had. Thank you.
The next public comment on 12.2 is Mr. Henry Martinez.
Yeah. Just wanted to bring back to a couple years back or a year ago. I wasn't even running for a school board and I was being attacked. So I'm hoping that you guys will all take a stance and keep it civil. Keep it to the issue. Because I was called the cops on for interfering, pulling signs, and accused of other stuff. And I wasn't even running for school board. So I'm hoping that you guys who are on the board now will push the issue for fair practice of running for your seats and put a stop to people who are trying to create hate and hurt people. You know, we're a better community than that. You know, we don't need to go around taking pop shots at everybody, especially people who don't run. Thank you.
Board comments, Jose?
None at this time. Thank you.
Maria, any questions or comments? Mr. Ayon?
Yeah, I want to call to attention the Gonzales district boundaries map. So if you open that, can we open that attachment, please?
Are we still on 12-2?
We are on 12-2.
Sorry, it's a big map, as you can see here. I believe, Yvette, I think you mentioned it's 60, was it 62 square miles?
65.
65 square miles. So you can see the map. It's hard to see, and apologize, but that little green dot right there, that's the city of Gonzales. Rough estimate, 80, 90% of the voters are there. But, in fact, if you live anywhere in that map, you know, in the mountains, by the river, wherever you live, in that map, if you're in that map, you can run right now. Right now, you can run. June 1st, well, not right now. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. June 1st, you can submit if you live anywhere in that map, not just in that little green dot, but anywhere there. 65 square miles. That's big. Anywhere there, you actually can be where we are right now. You file your paperwork, you campaign, you get the votes, you get on the board. You know, I haven't talked to any of my board members concerning who's going to run. 3 are up this year in 2022. And 2 are up in 2024. So I encourage every single person here, if you're considering running, please run. In fact, you know, what is promised is a lot of hard work for no pay. 4 hours, 5 more of meeting for no pay. No pay. You know, that's what's promised to you. Of course, we're here for a reason. We want to help our kids. We want to help our community. That's why we're here. That in that 65 square mile area, we want to help all those kids there, not just in that little green dot, everywhere else. So please, I implore you, if you want to run for one of these seats, run for them. Run for all 5 when it's time, right? Run for mine, please. I'd rather be home with my 1.5-year-old daughter. No offense, but you know, I think there's a view out there than some folks that maybe don't live in that green dot are not allowed to run. I just want to be clear to dispel that anybody in that big giant 65 square mile map is eligible to run. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we closed our. Okay, so, Ms. Flores, any questions?
No.
Just
Never mind.
Just like I encourage, you know, it's not an easy process, but I do encourage you to, anybody out there looking for this November to take a stab at it. Mr. Ione was correct with yes, no money, but I will tell you, the times we get to be here and I see the students and going, it is worth it. It's definitely worth it. So, can I get a motion for 12.2?
So move, Araceli.
Moved by Ms. Flores, second by Mr. Lopez. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.3, adoption of resolution number 2021-22-17, intent to initiate a transition by trustee area elections. Staff report.
So we are returning to the conversation regarding CVRA. We have Mr. McElhaney here, as well as our attorney from Julie.
Yes,
And Julie Rossiter.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Are you going to be sharing? Do you want us to share our screen, Julie?
I can share my screen. Should we try that and see if I can start the presentation that way?
Let's try that, and Monica will get that pulled up. Dan, do you want to do any introductory comments, opening comments?
Thank you. Julie is on the line with Zoom, and I'm Dan McElhenney. We're both attorneys with the law firm Lozano Smith, general counsel to the district. And we're appreciated to be here tonight to present some information regarding the California Voting Rights Act, and understand there's an action item agendized for approval of a resolution to initiate the transition to by trustee area elections. Julie is taking the lead on this project, and I'm working with her on it. I'm going to hand it off to her. This is one of her areas of expertise. So without further ado, to Julie Rossiter.
Thank you. It doesn't allow me to start my video or share my screen.
It's in process, almost there.
Okay, got it. Oh, I see. Okay.
Should I ad lib until we're ready? Is
Yeah.
that that's all I have. That's my only joke.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's
Is
my only
that
joke,
show?
sorry.
Can you?
PowerPoint is on the screen.
You can see it. Perfect. Okay. Well, hi everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to present tonight. As Dan mentioned, we're here because you have before you consideration of a resolution declaring the district's intent to transition from an at-large election system to a by trustee area election system. So if I can just scroll here, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview about the California Voting Rights Act, the CVRA, and then discuss the process to transition to by trustee area elections. So the reason that we're here is because the district did receive a letter on February 1st from the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, demanding that the district adopt a by trustee area election system. So here's a little bit of an overview. So under the CVRA, it prohibits the use of at-large elections where voters in the entire school district elect the trustees if they impaired the ability of a protected class to elect candidates of their choice. And essentially the concern here is racially polarized voting where candidates preferred by white voters are elected over the preferred candidates of protected classes. Okay, and under the CVRA, importantly, proof of intent to discriminate is not required. Okay, so under an at-large election system, which is the system that the school district currently uses, board members can reside anywhere in the district and registered voters vote for all the seats on the board, and that's shown in this graphic. And that's different from a by trustee area election system, whereas you can see the district is basically carved up into 5 trustee areas, and then the voters within each trustee area vote for one trustee from that area who must live within that trustee area. And this, as it says in the heading there, is the only method of election guaranteed not to violate the California Voting Rights Act. So the issue with CVRA litigation is that it is very expensive and that school districts have to date never been successful in defending a CVRA challenge. So that is the reason why we typically do recommend that districts go and do transition to by trustee area elections. The high cost of litigation is based on the fact that school districts have to pay not only their own attorney's fees, but if they lose at trial, they also have to pay the plaintiff's attorney's fees. So it gets to be very substantial, as you can see by the numbers up on this slide. Okay, so under the CVRA, if a demand is made, the governing board has must adopt an intent resolution. That's the resolution that's before you tonight, within 45 days of receipt of the demand letter. And that since the demand letter was received February 1st, March 18th would be the running date of that 45 day window. If the public entity takes all the necessary steps and proceeds to transition to a by trustee area elections, then their exposure is limited to no more than approximately $32,000. It's $30,000 under the code, but adjusted annually. So it's currently around $32,000. If the public entity does not take those steps and is ultimately sued, then they would be exposed to paying not only, like I said, their own litigation, own attorney's fees, but also the fees of the plaintiff. Okay, so now I'm just going to briefly go over the process to establish by trustee area election. So the first step is what we're here for tonight, and that is where the board adopts an intent resolution. Once the intent resolution is adopted, the district has 90 days. It's called a safe harbor period, a 90-day safe harbor period to complete the transition to by trustee area elections. And during that time period, no lawsuit can be filed. So here, if the board does adopt an intent resolution tonight, the safe harbor period would run until June 8th. And there's a very specific process for transitioning to by trustee area elections. It requires the board to conduct 2 public hearings before they create maps to get input from the community. Then once maps are created by a demographer, there are 2 more public hearings called map consideration hearings, where the public can provide input regarding the boundaries of the maps and any adjustments that might need to be made. And then there's a final hearing, another public hearing at which the map adoption would occur. And once that is not the end of the process, once the school district actually adopts maps, those maps then have to go to the County Committee on School District Organization, which in Monterey County is the same membership as the Monterey County Board of Education. And that county committee must hold at least 1 hearing to change the method of election. They actually hold the hearing within your school district boundaries. And then the county committee votes to either approve or deny the proposal. Some things to keep in mind, the terms of current board members are not changed by the transition. All incumbents retain their seat for their elected term and through the remainder of their term. Trustee area maps do need to be revisited and possibly adjusted every 10 years when the federal census is released. So every 10 years, districts that are elected in by trustee area elections must take a look and make sure that their trustee areas are properly balanced population-wise so that they're all relatively equal. And there is no change in the exterior boundaries of the district or the attendance boundaries by this process. And that is my overview. So now if there are any questions by the board. Okay.
Any questions regarding Julie's presentation?
Oh, and here I am.
Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Hi. A quick question in regards to the litigation there or the lawsuits that are pending with the other cities. Has there been any resolve on them, or they're still there, or Dan, are they going to still be there do we know when they're gonna have final, uh, you know, verdict and how much money they end up paying? Just to get an idea
Well,
for us, if we don't go through this, what, you know, possibility of
yeah.
what we may be facing, if anybody, you know.
It's to go back to that slide that just kind of showed some of the some of these are settlements, because sometimes as districts, if they are facing litigation, they may ultimately settle, and so it doesn't go through to a trial and a court judgment. But so some of these settlements that you can see, that's typically what has been happening, is that the districts do end up settling, and these are the payments that those school districts have paid. So those give you a sense of where you might wind up.
Thank you.
Maria, did you have a question regarding Julie's presentation?
By trustee area, the example you gave us, say for example, nobody runs for area 1. Will that then mean that we will have an open seat on the board?
If you don't have a person who will run, it would be a failure to elect. So there is a process to deal with that, but that is a possibility. But yes, you need to have someone from each trustee area that would run. So they would have to be a resident in that trustee area. And if you did not, that would be a failure to elect, and there's a process for addressing that.
So then, with that process, then we'll ensure that there is a seat filled.
Yeah, there's an appointment process, I believe, that you would go through. Just like you would if you had a vacancy on the board, due to someone moving out of the state or what have you.
If nobody wants to run in that area, that means that the seat will not be filled.
Mm.
Like yes or no, like will it be filled?
The short answer is if nobody runs, then you would have a vacancy. Yes, and then the board would be able to appoint someone at that point. So you would undertake community outreach to try to recruit applicants for an appointment process.
But the person appointed would still you would need to find someone from within that trustee area. That was the point I was trying to make.
My concern is if nobody in that area wants to run, then what happens? Will it just remain empty? That's my concern.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, it would be no different than any school district if they didn't have enough interest, which does happen. So it is what Dan said, where you would need to try to do outreach and try to find somebody.
And normally, every 10 years, how much would it cost to go over and revisit?
The cause, a lot of districts have been going through redistricting now because of the census release. So many districts have been going through that. It varies, and it depends in part on whether they are population balanced or not. If you're hiring the demographer and they're basically find that you don't need to make any adjustments, it might only be a few thousand, I've seen a couple of $1,000s for the demographer in that situation. If you do need to do redrawing of the maps, then it would be a bit more than that.
Thank you.
Do you have a question for Julie?
Yeah, I do want to continue on the line of questioning that Maria was on, because, so Daniel, you said that there's a process, right, to look for candidates. Let's talk worst case scenario. no candidate, because you can't just appoint somebody unless they want to do it. You can't just say, oh, Daniel, you're District 1 representative. And you have the right to say, thanks, but no thanks. So then you, just saying worst case scenario, you could have a situation where nobody steps up, where nobody wants to serve in one of these districts, and you have a 4-member board.
It is true that vacancies could exist because nobody runs. I think that's also true in at-large systems. It may be more risky with by trustee area, but it's not a risk that we've seen playing out more in by trustee area elections than at-large elections. That being said, yes, it is possible a district could have a vacant seat. That does occur.
Because I believe the city of, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, just sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say to keep in mind that each of the trustee areas will have approximately equal population. So so it's not that one trustee area is not going to have a lot of people in it. They're all going to be about the same. And if that, you'd have to see how that splits up your school district boundary. But, it could be that there's nothing to suggest that because you're switching into trustee areas that you won't have somebody, because like I said, you will have about equal population in each of those districts. That's required.
Well, for me, I think I want to push back on that a little bit respectfully, because what suggests to me is numbers. Because what you're doing is you're taking a whole and you're splitting it up into 5 pieces. You're taking a pie that's 1, and you're splitting it into 5 pieces. And then you're saying, so now each district is a 5th of the whole, right? And so, Daniel, I'll push back on you as well. My apologies. But if you have a population, let's just throw a simple number out. If you have a population of 5,000, so then you're saying, we need 5 people from those 5,000 to fill 5 seats, right? So chances of that, I think, are probably mathematically a little bit higher than saying, we need 1 person of that district to go. Because what if those 5 were concentrated in, say, 3 districts, right? That's where those 5 came from. Because at large, it doesn't limit to where they're living. It's anywhere. Like I said, it's in that map of 65 square miles. Anywhere in that map, anywhere. We just need 5. But when you separate it out by districts, now it's regions. Oh, well, in this region, we need 1. Well, what if you don't have 1 in that region? What if you don't have 1, and historically haven't had 1 in that region? And the city of King City, they had this problem where they're by district, and one of their districts, nobody ran, and somebody got 6 write-in votes, and now they're on city council. So it's not a perfect solution. There are issues here.
So certainly no one is asserting that this is a perfect solution. It does have its flaws. I mean, I don't think anyone is asserting that it doesn't. So now I think we're talking about anecdotal evidence here, right? So I'm not equipped with data tonight to present to you whether school districts that have by trustee areas have more vacancies than at-large school districts. But by and large, the trend in California is that school districts, just like all municipalities, are making this transition because of the California Voting Rights Act.
And the potential for litigation. So not necessarily the need, but the potential for avoiding litigation.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly Julie's presentation highlights our presentation highlights the risk associated with not making the transition is that there would likely be litigation. And in this case, the district has, as is public information, received a threat of litigation.
Yeah. And one last question. This is more into the weeds a little bit. Racially polarized voting. That's I think a difficult term to understand. I don't fully understand it myself. And somebody asked me, well, what is that exactly? I couldn't really answer. So I'm hoping that you guys can answer it much better than I can. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, certainly. The statute answers that for you. I think, Julie, do you have that definition in front of you?
I don't, but I can pull it up.
So I mean, while Julie will pull up the statute, but it essentially is that there's a documented history of protected classes being unable to impact the outcome of elections. So that is essentially the shorthand definition. So
And
that could- Go ahead, Julie.
sorry, I just wanted to point out that, like I said, it's where candidates preferred by white voters are elected over the preferred candidates of protected classes. So it's, you know, the analysis isn't simply that they look at historical. The other thing I wanted to point out is that they look at historical analyses going back decades when they're looking at whether a district or a public entity is, you know, when they're looking at their voting pattern. So it's not simply just looking at what your current makeup of your board is compared to your population in your district. They're looking at a historical perspective going back decades.
Araceli, any questions for Julie or Danny?
No, I think just the importance of, you know, of avoiding litigation and attempting to really save our district from having to spend millions or thousands of dollars potentially. There is a lot of what ifs, and there's no evidence for what ifs, and we know that. But I do think that this gives the choice, and it puts power to the community, because it does involve the community when this process occurs. But I also feel like, you know, it's definitely not something that in my opinion, we'd want to risk so much money that will come from the pockets of what we could do for students. So I think that's important. So thank you for your presentation.
Public, now we're going to take public comments on.
So I have Henry Martinez for 12.3.
One thing I can just offer is that we could prepare an public facing FAQ to define some of these items for the public. So the slides are obviously publicly available on the agenda, but we could also provide sort of a one-page FAQ about the Voting Rights Act if the board would like to see something like that, if the resolution is passed.
Thank you. Henry, well then, Barbara.
Yeah, one question I have is that, say if the seat does not get filled, I was wondered if we could go back and sue LULAC on that, because they're the ones that are filing litigation on us. That's one question I have. Two, I also talked to LULAC probably, Mr. Sandoval probably today for about 45 minutes. I also talked to Mr. Herrera for about an hour, both LULAC members, presidents. Also too, on this letter that they wrote, you know, they say that the Gonzales Unified School District continues to grow. Well, we're not growing. We haven't grown in years. So I don't know what they're talking about. Plus, if you look at their letters, they send the same letters to every school. They're worded the same. Everything's the same. They don't, as you grow. I mean, every paragraph you see is the same. This is Monterey, this is PG, this is Carmel. And they also said they send letters to Soledad and Pacific Grove. But I also read in here, in this article here, that a city won against this litigation. So this litigation in here tells you how they won. And it's by, you know, it goes down deep, but there's an article here that I looked up, and it's one of the cities that won. So this letter here is kind of misleading because it's telling you no one's won this litigation, and they have. And maybe it wasn't LULAC that went after them, but it was another group that went after them. So I think some of the stuff on here in this letter that LULAC wrote is false. And I believe LULAC, to me, I consider them a bully because they're going around bullying school districts and stuff in cities. They're not actually looking forward for our kids here, because if they weren't doing this say if they win or we lose, we're actually paying them money. So they're actually taking money away from our school district, and that money could go for our kids. So me, I'm favor for the school to fight this because I believe 99% in my heart that our school district's going to win because they don't have any grounds. Look at, you're all Hispanics here and everybody that ran was Hispanics. And our community is all Hispanics. So I don't see an issue here. I don't know where LULAC is coming from and what they think. I think they're just so happy, and for them not to be here, they should be here. They're going to sue. They should have our representatives here talking to us. This is crazy. But I could go on and on and on. And I did my research and I talked to them about growth. Well, the city of Gonzales is going to grow. And yeah, well, the housing project's probably not going to be here for another 5 years. And the $25 million to build the school is probably not going to be enough money because everything's going up. So you won't be able to afford that new school. There's no way this city is going to be growing here in the next 3 years or so. So, and that's a known fact. So I'm totally telling our school not to fight this litigation. Thank you.
Okay. This thing going on makes you feel like this. I'm coconut. I'm not brown enough to be a Mexican and I'm not white enough to be a white person. This is what this litigation to me feels like. This is what they called me when I was a kid. And LULAC says they're for the Hispanics. If they were for the Hispanics, they would have backed me up against the police department, against the city, against the social workers. We're all white. Your congressman was a DA officer. He's white. Your district attorney was white. Your two chiefs were white. Your social workers in the Monterey County leaders some of them are white. I dealt with a lot of the white social workers. I gave them proof that it was all lies, mishaps, false evidence, and everything like that. And LULAC did not take my case. So you guys got to think twice on what you guys want to do with LULAC. Because me personally, I do not have faith in LULAC. If they're saying for the people, but they're not. And then on the other hand, just in case we do go zone thing, I want to be on that committee to redistrict zones. Because I want to keep North and South Gonzales separate from East Side. Because every board member and every city council member mostly are from the other side of town. So I want East and North to be separate from the North and South to be separate. And I want to be on the committee to make sure that North Side is representative with its own district separate from the East Side. And maybe my daughter will win next time. Thank you.
Then we have De Silva.
Good evening, board and superintendent and audience. My name is Elizabeth Silva. And I want to be clear that I'm a lifelong resident of Gonzales, and I'm a second-generation alumni of these schools. And the views I express tonight are my personal views and opinions that are not to be considered from anyone else who serves with me on the city council. Upon reading the recent letter from Mr. Sandoval at LULAC to the Gonzales Unified School Board, I was very disappointed in its hostile tone and demand to create a school board voting district. In my opinion, the size of our district doesn't warrant this action, and our board of trustees should not vote in favor of this change. There's a lot of echoing. From what I know about LULAC, it is supposed to be a group whose premise is considered to be one of the more conservative Latino civil rights groups, according to Wikipedia. Its purpose is to advance the economic condition, educational attainment, political influence, housing, health, and civil rights of the Hispanic population of the United States. Our school district is predominantly Hispanic, and I feel that they are very well represented. I am a Hispanic woman. All my grandparents are from Mexico. Our current Board of Trustees is comprised of 5 bilingual Hispanic individuals, so I don't understand the statement of improving accountability and responsiveness. As of today, and according to the Monterey County Elections Department, there are just under 4,900 voters in our school district of 65 square miles. The voters in our unified school district always have a choice to run during a given election. If our voters choose not to seek an elected position within our jurisdiction, including anyone from Chular Canyon, all the way down to the Soledad Mission, how can this be construed as losing the ability to meaningfully engage in elections and community policymaking, as stated in the letter? Our unified school district covers a large area that not only includes the city of Gonzales, but as I just mentioned, the large outlying rural area that stretches from Chular all the way to the Mission. While our school district is expected to grow as our city continues to move forward on the intended housing developments, we're not quite there. And again, as many of you know, I was born and raised here in Gonzales, and I'm a proud resident. I take great pride in our community, its residents, our schools, everyone. Let's not be bullied into something that we're not yet ready for, and focus on continuing as a united district towards the most important goal, the education, guidance, and betterment of our students. Thank you.
Now that we've heard public comment, can I get a motion for item number 12.3?
Second by Mr. Lopez.
That was moved by Ms. Flores, second by Mr. Lopez, and because it's a resolution, I believe we have to take a roll call vote.
Don't we, I'm sorry, don't we get comments? Before we take the vote? Or comments?
We had our,
But those were the questions to staff, but this would be for discussion, no? According to our.
I'm open to it. If you want.
I'm gonna call a point of order, so give me 1 second.
Right. Page 12.
Page 12, the over handbook.
Do you have it? There we go. Let's see. I should have.
Here's the process. Deliberate the action.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and open it to board deliberation or discussion. Mr. Lopez?
Thank you. I'll be brief. Thank you, public, for your input. My comments are going to address to, I think, well, to my fellow board members here. I think from my opinion, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves and worrying about something that we don't know yet, what's in the future. I have faith in our community and in the people here in our community, but also in Chular and Mission District, which are part of our extended community, that there will be, people there that are going to step up to that challenge of, being leaders, just like we, stepped up to this, a challenge that, there will be somebody there that's going to step up to fill in those seats. So, I'm offering my fellow board members an alternative, approach to instead of seeing it as what I perceive to be a little bit of a pushback and perhaps, not, open to, moving forward with this approach is that, let's stay hopeful. Let's, plan for the future. Let's encourage our community. Let's work with our community. Let's invite them to be part of the process, part of getting involved in our civic, involvement in our community, and teaching our young people that they too have a place to be leaders in our community. And yes, I understand that we may be frustrated and thinking of like, what if this, what if that, but the what if doesn't really exist. And instead of just spending all this for what it seems to me to be time of just worrying about something that we don't know what's going to happen in the future, let's actually rather approach it in a different way, in a different angle, and preparing for a better future, where there's going to be more people getting involved. And the way that I think that begins is by us showing that example to the community of collaborating, of working together, of getting things done for our students, but also for our community. And that way it'll inspire other young people and other people in our communities to step up when it comes to that opportunity to lead our district or lead the city or lead, other districts in our county. So I just hope that, you guys are open enough to approach it with that, with that approach of not worrying so much of the what if, but rather looking at the opportunities and the potential for something new to be able to grow our district and make it better than what it is. So, thank you.
Ms. Cuevas?
My concern is that this may cause a divide. Why can't we just continue to make our and everyone and just share with everyone in the surrounding area that they are allowed to come and sit on this? I think that there's just that confusion that some community members from like Mission and Trular aren't aware that they can actually sit on the seat. I think that's been the major issue.
Thank you, Ms. Rayon.
I agree with, I'm sorry. I want to echo almost 90% of what my fellow board member, Mr. Jose Lopez, has said. I know that we need to do more outreach, and I know that's been a problem historically. Let's talk about historical problems. That's a historical problem, right? If you look back at elections, you'll see that some elections, nobody ran, and that's at large. At large elections, nobody ran, right? And so you had to appoint somebody. So that's with where anybody can run in those 65 square miles, and, as far as the what ifs, you're right. We cannot attack a what if, right? Because we don't know that might happen. But the way I look at it is, why don't we allow anybody, irrespective of where they live, that opportunity to sit here, right? Because if you split it up into 5, what if there's 2 really good qualified people in one district? Guess what? Who loses out? We do, because we might only get 1. We might only get 1 of those 2 really good qualified people. I'm not saying I'm one of them, right? But that can happen. That can happen geographically, and it's not all the time, right? It could be one election that there's just some high quality people that want to get involved, that are, committed to the community, right? Next election, it's from another area, right? And the at-large system for us, we're all Hispanic. We're all Hispanic here. 2 of us didn't have papers, right? We grew up without papers. We cannot be more diverse, right? In my opinion. And so, to me, what the at-large system for us in a Hispanic community is, it gives the most qualified people, irrespective of where they live, it gives them the chance of being on the board. And isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we want in a board? The most qualified people there? Thank you.
So we have been debating about this for a while already. And we've heard information not only in public, but in closed session that obviously we cannot repeat. The concern I have is that one, Gonzales is gonna grow. Two, this process gives the opportunity for the community to have a say on how the maps are gonna be drawn, engages the community. And so if we're gonna complain and talk about how, why aren't people running? For years, we've had people not running for elections. Well, that really says a lot about us and what a terrible job we've done at getting people civically involved. I mean, how well of a job are we doing teaching our youth and our communities to be civically engaged, that they would want to run for a board or another office? This is a process in where it would engage community members. If everyone is so worried about where the at-large is going to be, then be a part of the committee, go to the community meeting so you can take a part of the process of choosing where the at-large, where the areas are going to be. Instead of not wanting to change and wanting to be the same, we need to grow and we need to get our communities involved in this process. People need to learn how this works. And at the same time, the amount of money you're risking, if this litigation goes through and we lose, the amount of money comes out of our pockets. So, when everybody wants to complain that there's not this and there's that, we can't have our cake and eat it too. We need to make sure that we protect and we are fiscally responsible for our district. And I don't understand why we can't engage our community in this conversation about running for election, getting involved, what the process is. We should be teaching our youth and our communities what it means to be civically engaged. And this is just one part of it. So again, I appreciate everybody's time and thank you.
I'm going to be brief. I think I take this job very seriously, and I've said it a million times that every dollar we do not spend, that we spend elsewhere, we don't spend it in the classroom. Taking that approach and trying to be as fiscally responsible for our students. Do I think that we are large enough to go by district? No, I don't. However, because finances are involved, I kind of feel pushed into a corner by LULAC for this because of the representation of our community. Everybody stated about getting people involved. Yes, we do have to get people involved, and it's going to be even that more difficult by district, but we're going to have to do our best to do it for our students. I'm just not sitting well easy with, even if we do win, it's going to cost money. Even if we do lose, it costs money. Either way, it's costing money that is not going into the classroom. And that ultimately is my leading force, because I've been in these classrooms. I know what we need. And right now we need to focus on resources for our students. So, thank you. Because this is a resolution, we do have to take a roll call vote. Monica, if we can.
Roll call vote for item 12.3, Board President Celeste Daniel,
Yes.
Board Clerk Araceli Flores,
Yes.
Board Member Jose Lopez,
Yes.
Board Member Maria Cuevas,
Yes.
Board Member Cesar Ayala.
No.
Passes 4-1.
Thank you. Item 12.4, approval of 2021-22 second interim report.
We have Dr. James Drake, our CBO, as well as Yesenia Argueta, our Director of Fiscal Services, here to give the board an update via our second interim report.
Good evening, GUSD family. And we are family. GUSD staff, members of the governing board, members of the community. I'm here tonight, James Drake, Associate Superintendent, CBO, along with my associate, Ms. Yesenia Argueta, our excellent Director of Fiscal Services and the MVP of the district. And tonight we're going to talk about one of your favorite topics, money, specifically school finance and where we stand with our finances right now. And so we have our second interim report, which we will go through with you, and hopefully you will approve when we're done. And this may be a test of my coordination to see if I can advance the slides. I believe I have the control. Monica, is that true? Oh, like that? Okay, now it's working. Okay, so to start us off, we're going to talk about the local control funding formula, the LCFF, where we get our money from our state apportionment. And as many of you know, the components of our local control funding, the LCFF, we have our base grant, providing a fundamental amount for every student. And then on top of that, we have our supplemental and concentration grants, which give us an additional amount. And so these are additional sources of revenue above the base level. And these, of course, are based on our ADA, average daily attendance figures. And so we begin our second interim budget report. And once again, to review our reporting requirements, we are required to submit two financial reports to the state during the fiscal year. We had our first interim report, which was due to the county office on December 15th, which we gave to you back in December. And so tonight we come to you with our second interim report, which is due to the county office by March 17th. And so we are going to talk tonight about what has happened since that first report, the period from November 1st through January 31st. Now, the first and second interim reports must include a certification related to the district's ability to meet its financial obligations. And that can be positive, qualified, which means possibly, or negative, which means it's not going to happen. And so this is the same chart that we showed you on the first interim report, giving some historical information and information at the present. And I'm going to use my fancy laser pointer here to try to show you a couple of things. If you look at the first row for enrollment, you'll see that historically, over the past several years, the enrollment has been declining. And where we are right now at 2122 is approximately 2181. That's our current enrollment data. Looking at the second row, our P2ADA, our second reporting period, you'll see again, this has also been declining along with that declining enrollment. In the last few columns, you'll see that our ADA currently is at 2230. And this represents the value from last year. We're being held harmless. We're allowed to use that same ADA again this year, even though our enrollment has declined. So looking at that third row, percentage ADA, you'll see that historically, the percentage of ADA to enrollment has been roughly 94, 95%. It's currently artificially high at 102.25% because of that hold harmless ADA actually being larger than the enrollment. And so going down, one more row I'd like to point out is our LCFF per ADA. This is the amount of funding that we are spending per student. And you'll see that currently it's at $12,882. Our COLA last year was at 0%. COLA now is at 5.07%. And it's kind of a makeup COLA for the funding that we didn't receive last year. So advancing to our next slide, we're looking at total revenues and total expenditures here at the top of the chart. And you'll see that revenues right now, we have 29.6 million roughly in unrestricted revenues, about 16 million in restricted revenues, for a total of about 45.6 million. That's what we're projecting for the year at this point. Looking at our expenditures, we have roughly 22.2 million unrestricted, 20.8 million restricted, for a total projected expenditure of approximately $43 million. Now, going further down the chart, we have what we had projected roughly a $3 million increase in fund balance by the end of the year. We've reduced that slightly by a little over $500,000. And so now we're projecting an increase in fund balance of about 2.48 million by the end of the year. So our ending balance, June 30th, we project to be about $3 million higher. We had projected in unrestricted, about $500,000 lower in restricted, for a total increase in fund balance, again, of about $2.48 million by the end of the year. And now the pie chart here shows us our total revenues. And you'll see that the large blue section of the pie is our LCFF revenue source, our state apportionment funding, approximately 28.9 million, roughly $29 million, or about 63% of our total revenues. You'll see that our federal revenues, almost $8 million, represent roughly 18% of our revenue. We have other state revenues of approximately 6.7 million, or about 15%, and local sources give us about 2 million, or roughly 4%. And now looking at expenditures, I'm going to start in the upper right corner of the pie. You'll see that the dark blue section represents our certificated salaries of about 10.6 million, or 25%. Continuing clockwise, we have classified salaries of a little over 5 million, or about 12%. Administrator salaries, certificated and classified, about 3.8 million, or about 9%. And then in the purple section of the pie, employee benefits of approximately $9 million, or roughly 22%. Normally, this makes up 75 to 80% of our expenditures. In this case, this year, it's a little bit less because we've received extra money from other restricted sources, such as COVID funding. And so that has allowed us to spend more in other areas, for example, books and supplies. We're projecting roughly 6.2 billion there, or about 12% of expenditures. Services and other operating expenditures of about 5.8 million, or roughly 15%. Capital outlay, 726, or about 1%, and all others, approximately 1.685 million, or about 4%. So this represents our total expenditures that we project for the year. And now comparing our first interim budget versus the current second interim budget. As you can see, going across from the top, under revenues, at first interim, we had projected roughly 28.8 million. We're projecting roughly 28.966 million right now, a slight difference, about 165,000. Federal revenues were roughly 8.3 million. We now project to be about 7.96 million. So a small decrease there. State revenues, roughly 4 million were projected earlier. Now we're projecting 6.7. So an increase of about 2.7 million. Other local revenues, we projected about 2 million, still about 2 million. And so that's just a very small difference there. So overall, we've gone from projecting revenues to be at around 43 million to about 45.6 million. So an increase of about 2.5 million since our first interim report. Then looking at expenditures, you can see that under classified salaries, we have a small increase. Classified salaries, small increase. Benefits, again, a small increase because of the salaries going up. Books and supplies, that's a fairly substantial increase. Services and other costs, slight reduction. Capital outlay, good increase there. And others holding steady. And so now looking at total expenditures, at first interim, we estimated approximately 40.7 million. We're now estimating 43 million, or an increase of roughly $2.3 million. And so again, this continues our comparison of second interim versus first interim budget. The highlight here is the net increase in fund balance. At first interim, we had projected a roughly 2.254 million increase. Now we're projecting about a $2.48 million increase, or a slight difference of 228,000. As I mentioned earlier, in terms of our overall finances, our total fund balance is increasing. At first interim, we projected the total fund balance to be roughly 17.52 million. We now project 17.748 million. So again, a slight increase there. And then looking at other sources, we see that we have small changes in these areas. We maintain a required 3% reserve, plus our 15% board mandated reserve. And so these are the amounts that we have left over as undesignated or unappropriated. And now I'm going to hand the microphone over to my associate, Ms. Argueta, and she will talk to you about what we're expecting as we go forward, our multi-year projections.
So as part of our second interim, we also have our multi-year projections. And the following slides cover the assumptions that we made for those. So again, this is covering 22-23 school year and 23-24 school year. So for 22 and 23 school year, these are the assumptions on the LCFF calculator. We are projecting that our enrollment is still going to be declining, and our COLA is projected at 2.48%. Our federal revenues, we're also projecting that they will be declining significantly due to declining enrollment and ADA, as well as the expiration of the federal COVID assistance. Our other state revenues, we're also projecting and that they are declining, and also for the same reasons. And our other local revenues, we're projecting that they're declining slightly. As far as salary and benefits for 22-23, projected reductions is anticipated due to, again, our decline in enrollment and ADA. We have a projected increase in STRS retirement, as well as PERS retirement is also increasing for the 22-23 school year. We're also projecting a 5% increase in health and welfare, our insurance plans. Supplies and materials, we're projecting a reduction. Services and other operating expenses, we're projecting a reduction, and capital outlay is also a projection of a reduction. Now for 23-24, these are the assumptions. Again, declining our enrollment and ADA. There is a COLA that is projected at 3.11%. Our federal revenues, they're projected to decrease, as well as other state revenues and other local revenues as well. So for 23-24, our salaries and benefits, there's further reductions due to, again, our decrease in ADA and enrollment. STRS is scheduled to remain flat at 19.10%. And there's still another increase for PERS retirement, and a 5% increase for health and welfare. Materials and supplies is projected to decrease, and services and other operating and capital outlay will remain flat. And in summary,
She's being shy. So to wrap things up, the multi-year projections demonstrate that we can meet our financial obligations during the current and subsequent 2 years. But to do so, there may need to be significant staffing reductions and reductions in supplies, services, and capital outlay for not only next year, but also the year after. We will be able to maintain the state required 3% reserve, along with our 15% board mandated reserve. But in order for the district to meet its financial obligations, we feel it's important for the governing board to adopt a fiscally conservative approach as we look forward. We don't know what the state's going to do in terms of their apportionment funding over the next 2 years. We're being held harmless right now on our ADA, even though our enrollment is actually less than that number. So next year, the state may decide to go with a rolling 3-year average. They may decide just to base on a prior year ADA. At this point, we just don't know. And so we're being conservative here with our estimates. Our certification for the 21-22 second interim is positive. We can meet our financial obligations now and for the next 2 years, assuming that we do the things that we mentioned in our presentation. And so in our upcoming calendar here, in December, we gave you the first interim budget report. Tonight, we're giving you the second interim budget report. In May and June, we will present our official budget for the 22-23 fiscal year, and hopefully you'll approve that along with our LCAP. And then in June, we will have our official budget and LCAP adoption again when we meet. And so at this point, we'd like to open it up to your questions.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes, can I get a clarification in regards to the reserves? I see that 3% state required. Is the 15% that's our board required?
Yes, that's right.
Then why am I mistaking it with 3%?
No, the state requirement is 3%.
Maybe when I was in the city, I think, or no.
No,
Or was it here?
the district is required to keep a minimum 3% reserve.
Okay,
If we went below that, we would not, we would have a, we would
okay,
have
then
a
that's what
negative
it, okay.
budget.
Just wanted to clarify there. Thank you, that's all.
Okay.
Ms. Gomez? Thank you guys for your presentation.
The 15% board mandated reserve, is that, where is that mandated? Where is that documented?
I believe it's mandated in board policy.
So it's board policy?
It is
Yes.
board policy.
Yeah. Can I be sent the board policy?
Yes.
That it is?
Yes.
Thank you. So you said that in order to meet our 3% and 15%, so 18% total reserve, we would potentially have to do significant staffing reductions.
Well, what we're looking at is our projected revenues for the next 2 years are significantly lower because we're going to be, the COVID funding is going to run out, other resources like that are going to expire. And so that's going to mean that we're going to be going back to roughly the same revenue levels we had before COVID. And so we'll have to look at our expenditures and make those adjustments.
So right now, just based on the 2021, 2022, the total revenues was 45 million.
That's what we're projecting, yes.
Yeah, I remember when I first got on the board, I think it was 30 million or something like that. So So when you're saying we're going back, and I first got on the board a year ago. So just to give people in the audience a little bit of a perspective here. So when you're saying going back, you mean going back to 30 million, 32 million?
Approximately, yes. If you look at our multi-year projections, I think that we're looking at roughly $34 to $35 million projection revenue over the next 2 years. And I think you're right, it was about 30 to 32 million when you first came out. So going back to approximately that same level.
So 15 million, 1.5 reduction in revenues, potentially.
Potentially, yes.
I think the superintendent had a clarification regarding your question. as
Yeah.
well, Susan.
So the presentation that Business Services is giving is predicated on previous presentations pre-COVID. The budget outlook from the Legislative Analyst's Office, in addition to the Governor's Office, is more positive moving forward. This year alone, we have $45 billion in excess revenue that they are putting, that they are deciding, but there is conversation about putting some in a rainy day fund. What has also changed, though, which will prevent us from going completely back to what it was like, is legislation has changed. And there is now legislation that provides greater support for the financial interests of the districts in California.
Good. And just the last question, the reserve, how's that calculated? Is that calculated based on the amount of revenue? So if there's, super easy numbers, let's say it's 10 and you had 30%, 10%, $10 revenue and you had 30% reserve, it would be
Yeah,
then
it's based on the overall
$3.
budget,
So it's based on the revenue?
expenditures.
So the revenues and the expenditures?
These just expenditures because.
Oh, okay.
Right,
on the
we had, notice we have to
expenditures,
be able to pay our bills. We have to hold a certain amount to be able to do that.
The-
That's what the reserve is for.
The reserve is, an analogy is our savings account. So in order to maintain that 18%, we put money there and we monitor that it stays there. And I apologize that I'm repeating myself, but the justification for the 15% is the board had requested that we always be able to meet 2 months compensation for employees.
Okay. So, right. So right now, the 15% reserve is about 6 million then? I'm just doing some quick math.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
Doris?
So is it safe to say that a lot of the revenues really stems on our ADA?
Yes, it does depend on ADA.
And it seems like we're declining in ADA every school year.
Yeah, that's been the trend over the past several years.
Yeah. So I think I think when I'm not a numbers person, that's my board president's field. But when I'm listening to your presentation and looking at all these numbers, I keep thinking to myself, declining enrollment, declining ADA for state and feds. And so it just seems like if, we really need to see how it is that we keep our kids here and, engage parents and, advertise and really be a district where people want to keep their kids coming here. And so I'm interested and I'm hoping that that's something that we'll continue to work on, because the fact that the revenues really depend on ADA is scary when we're continuously declining.
Yes. Yeah, as the superintendent said, the state may help us by providing some additional funding, but in the business office, it's our job to give you doom and gloom and give you the more conservative forecast.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Thank you.
I just had two, one question, one comment. Can you explain for those that are listening at home, what a transfer in and a transfer out is on there? That was not so,
Yes, every year we take money, we transfer it to certain funds. And actually, Yesenia could tell you more about that because historically we have taken money from the general fund and transferred it to various other funds for specific purposes, projects and various things.
So it seems like there's been a history of holding those funds in order to contribute into like different maintenance or to adult ed. So those are just like placeholders.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the explanation. And I do appreciate the amounts being so close from the first interim to the second interim, I really appreciate it being, there's not big gaps there. So thank you so much for all your hard work. And I believe that is it. We have public comment on? Nope. No public comment. Board comment? Can I get a motion?
So move, Araceli.
Moved by Ms. Flores,
Second by Mr. Lopez.
second by Mr. Lopez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes. Item number 12.6. Approval of the 2021, 22,
12.5.
oops, sorry.
Our MOU
Oh,
with
sorry, I was wrong. Going back to item 12.5, approval of amendment number 1 to the MOU between the County of Monterey on behalf of the County of Monterey, Monterey County Health Department, Behavioral Health Bureau, and Gonzales Unified School District. Staff report?
So this evening, we're bringing forth an expansion of our addition, allowing us to have additional full-time psychiatric social worker provided to the district through Monterey County Behavioral Health. This has been a very successful partnership, and these services are imperative for our students.
Public comment?
No.
Is this just one counselor that we work with, or or is it
We
several?
have two from County Health.
Great, thank you.
I'm gonna call for board questions.
I'm sorry, I thought you
So-
called, I can't hear back here.
Ms. Cuevas, any questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Ion? No questions? Ms. Flores?
No. I will be abstaining.
I was gonna, Ms. Flores will abstain.
Mhm.
Can I get a motion?
So moved by Mr. Lopez.
And a second? Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Ms. Cuevas. All those, I need a roll call vote.
Roll call vote on 12.5, Board President Celeste Daniel,
Yes.
Board Clerk Araceli Flores,
I'm abstaining due to employment.
Board Member Jose Lopez,
Yes. Yes.
Board Member Maria Cuevas,
Yes.
and Board Member Cesar Ayon.
Yes.
Motion passes. 12.6, approval of the 2021-22 spring release consolidated application and reporting system, CARS. Staff report?
CARS is an annual submittal from districts to the CDE covering our diversified programs, which used to be referred to as categorical programs.
Any public comment?
No.
No public comment. Board questions? No board questions. Can I get a motion?
So moved by Mr. Lopez.
Second, Araceli.
That was motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Ms. Flores. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. 12.7, approval of a client services agreement with ProCare Therapy for licensed vocational nurse for sporting events. Staff report?
I believe, so this proposal, this MOU is an agreement to bring in an LVN to support us with first level care. She is able to provide first aid. We have situations where we have needs at multiple sites and one district nurse to respond. She will supplement the health clerk that we already have at La Gloria by supporting all three sites when necessary, but primarily Fairview and GHS. She is also available to support us with sporting events that occur within the school day. And we're bringing forth the MOU for action.
Public comments?
Yes, we have two. First public comment in person is Sandra Rodriguez. Oh, Sandra, I'm gonna, you're like, can you put your mic on?
Wanted to restart.
There you go.
There you go.
While I do not understand that our while I do understand that our district nurse needs more support during being the only one at 3 sites, I do not understand why you would put an LVN in place of an athletic trainer at our sporting events. I would hope that you consulted the highest ranking medical professional in this district when making that decision. Athletic trainers have different skill sets, which is needed for sports. They must possess a strong orthopedic background. If I may, with all due respect, I can equate my training in first aid, CPR, AED, immobilization, and calling 911 with that of an LVN. While an extra set of hands and eyes is always appreciated, how can we pay an LVN to attend sporting events in the capacity of an athletic trainer when coaches possess the same, if not more, qualifications in this area? Are we going to pay someone $70 an hour, if not more, to attend a district athletic event? We are underutilizing our athletic trainer and our sports medicine program. At the end of the day, doing our students a great disservice. What is the scope of the LVN's duties, not to mention supplies? Certified athletic trainers provide our athletes with so much more than just on game day. From pre-game taping to preventing injuries to post-care follow-up on concussions and return to play protocols. The cost would be minimal to reinstate our certified athletic trainer in comparison to paying an LVN for a skill set they do not possess. It may just be conjecture on my part, but it feels like our sports medicine program is always indirectly impacted. I don't know if it's because our teacher is vocal or is opinionated, but it seems that this program is always either directly or indirectly impacted. Sports medicine has been on hiatus at one point, returned, and now is only being minimally utilized. I hope that in the future you take into consideration the impact of replacing a certified athletic trainer and our sports medicine students with an LVN and how it would impact our sports programs. Thank you.
Next public comment.
Okay, we have from the California Athletic Trainers Association, President Daniel. As the California Athletic Trainers Association president, it is troublesome the news that I have heard regarding student athletic healthcare services potentially being provided by unlicensed vocational nurses, LVNs, in the Gonzales Unified School District. California employs over 2,700 certified athletic trainers who believe that healthcare services are a top priority for our California secondary school students, athletes. The potential action in hiring LVNs is not conducive with keeping these young, physical, active students safe. Athletic trainers, on the other hand, are trained and educated healthcare professionals who render service or treatment under the direction of or in collaboration with a physician. Services provided by the athletic trainers include injury and illness prevention, wellness promotion and education, risk management, immediate and emergency care examination and clinical diagnosis, therapeutic interventions and rehabilitation of injuries and medical conditions. They are the primary first responders in an injury or illness emergency by providing practiced and rehearsed emergency action plans for student safety. Their continued intervention will be to provide sound healthcare throughout the return to participation process in conjunction with medical referral and approval. The certified athletic trainer receives their credentials through educational institutions, either at the Bachelor of Science or Master of Science athletic training professional programs and degrees. In addition, the Board of Certifications, Inc., the credential agency, is the gold standard of certification in the United States since 1982 for certified athletic trainers. Simply stated, licensed vocational nurses do not provide appropriate care in an athletic healthcare environment. In fact, the state of California and LVN must only complete a high school degree, much different than the educational standards of established for BS and MS graduates for athletic trainers. While LVNs may provide important services within our healthcare community, they have little or no training, education, and experience in providing care to students, athletes at the secondary school level. Athletic trainers are the only true professional, trained, educated, and with experience to deliver comprehensive healthcare services to your school and community population. Thank you for reviewing my comments, and I am happy to assist you and your school district in having qualified healthcare access available for your student athlete population. A more thorough review of the following links may assist you in arriving at sound healthcare conclusions. Appropriate medical care for secondary school age athletes, https:// do I have to read that? // no? Okay, thank you. License, the website for licensed vocational nurses. Second one is from, go ahead and start the thing. Fresno State. President Daniel, it has come to my attention that your board is contemplating a decision to provide athletic healthcare services to the student athletes in your district by contracting with ProCare Therapy, who will provide licensed vocational nurses for sporting events. I wish to respectfully submit my comments in the public record advising against such an action. National leaders in the healthcare for physically active believe that the prevention and treatment of injuries to student athletes are a priority. The recognition and treatment of injuries to student athletes must be immediate. The medical delivery system for injured student athletes needs a coordinator within the local school community who will facilitate the prevention, recognition, treatment, and reconditioning of sports-related injuries. Therefore, it is the position of many leading sports medicine associations, including the National Athletic Trainers Association, American Academy of Family Physicians, American Medical Association, and the American Medical Society for Sports Medicine, that all the secondary schools should provide the services of a full-time on-site certified athletic trainer, ATC, to student athletes. More specific recommendations can be found here. Appropriate medical care for secondary school age athletes, and they have the website. Licensed vocational nurses do not possess the requisite education and experience to provide appropriate care in an athletic healthcare environment. As you can see in the state of California, an LVN must only complete a high school degree or equivalent and have completed a California-approved School of Vocational Nursing, which does not require a post-secondary degree. LVNs can also qualify for licensure by completing 51 months of bedside nursing experience, which includes 48 months of medical surgical nursing, 5 weeks of maternity and genitourinary nursing, and only 5 weeks of pediatric nursing. By comparison, the standards to become a certified athletic trainer require completion of an entry-level athletic training education program accredited by the Commission on Accreditation of Athletic Training Education, CAATE, and passing of the BOC certification exam. All of these programs currently require completion of either a bachelor's or a master's degree in athletic training and include 2 years of clinical experience. Beginning in the fall of 2022, only programs offering a master's degree in athletic training will be able graduate students eligible for the national examination. The standards for CAATE accredited programs require education and assessment. Thank you. Okay. And that is it.
Concludes public comments. We're gonna go ahead and move on to board questions. Mr. Lopez?
None at this time.
Ms. Cuevas?
So just to clarify, for our sports med students, there will no longer be a program. They're going to be replaced by one LVN.
No, that is incorrect information.
Yep.
So we have an athletic trainer, and that is Mr. Fidencio Cuevas. There is a sports medicine program, and I do believe that we also have an MOU with GTA and Mr. Cuevas that continues that program through the end of this year. There is no documentation that I am aware of that we ever said we were hiring an LVN in lieu of an AT. I also want to clarify, I considered this a fortunate move because the company actually had an LVN that is a resident of Gonzales, a graduate of Gonzales. She will be supervised by Claudia Perlin, our assistant director. She is to help with those duties that some of the duties that our district nurse could be released from to focus on more pressing areas. And in fact, we had feedback from some coaches that they would like additional support because it's difficult to coach and attend to simple injuries or bandaging that needs to occur. And I'm not talking about splinting, I'm talking about cuts or scrapes. And so we brought this forward to accommodate those requests. But I want to repeat, there is no language that we are replacing or bringing in an LVN in lieu of our sports medicine program and athletic trainer.
Mr. Boas? I'm sorry, Mr. Ayon.
Mr. Ayon.
Mr. Ayon.
Yeah, I think I appreciate the public comments. And I think the public comments made clear by professionals that have much more experience than I do about what it requires to assist in sporting events. And with all the due respect, I look forward to this LVN to joining our school. So I'm not speaking against the person. I don't know who that is. Sure, they're wonderful, but you know, for sporting events, I don't believe that an LVN is the appropriate solution. I think the MOU should. I think I want to table this and send it back so that the MOU is modified to say that the LVN actually is assisting at the school sites, but not in a sports setting. So, you know, specifically in the subject, it says vocational nurse, but you know, for sporting events, I would strike that. And where it says, and during the district sporting events, I would strike that. And it says, and administer first aid during GUSD sporting events, I would strike that.
So Mr. Ayon, I'm going to interrupt only because if you want to table it and send it back, that's perfectly acceptable.
Yep.
I would not start striking things, nor would I make public comment that could imply that we're restricting what are additional first aid services. This district has had numerous absences with support personnel, health clerks, nurses due to COVID. And it's our responsibility, I trust Ed Services with that, to develop backup plans. And so this was an attempt to do that. But I do ask that we refrain from talking about, we don't want them doing this, we don't want them doing that. This is a contracted service. It was brought forth for safety reasons. And so I welcome the board sending it back to the drawing table if that is their request.
Yeah, I'd like to take a motion to table it and send it back for
Point of-
clarification or for to work on it.
So I'm gonna take a point of order really quick and ask legal, since they are here, because the motion is already on the table, we can't table it. It was, it should have been tabled prior. Am I correct? It sh-
Is that something that we have to vote on? Mm-hmm.
Correct. Okay. That answers the tabling, which I thought to my training.
Yeah, I mean, and so based on that, I'm gonna take
Fair
that
motion.
direction where I'm gonna, you know, vote no and send it back.
As far as any questions,
So first of all, the idea that we have a Gonzales alumni coming to provide support as an LVN is great, and I'm thankful that someone would be willing to return and service our youth, you know, to cover a scratch or put some ointment on, or whatever an LVN is allowed to do. But I do want to, I think there is clarification here that sports med is not being removed or replaced through this LVN. I feel like there's some miscommunication on what's happening with sports meds. I think if the coaches are, if there are coaches asking for support because they need to coach and not, and they can't attend to every wound, I don't understand why they can't get that support if that's something that they're requesting. It's the more help, the better to keep our kids safe, not everybody can be everywhere at the same time. So that extra support feels like it's something that would reduce risk of liability. So I think this is a great idea, and I'm kind of excited to know that we have a alumni coming to serve our students. So congratulations, and power to LVNs out there. They do good work.
I have a question regarding the contract or the agreement. In the agreement, it said 32 and a half hours. Are we required to hire out through the agreement through ProCare 32 hours every week? Are we committed to that? Is it based on need? Do we call?
No, we have a firm number of hours identified.
So the ProCare person that will be coming, we are paying already. I mean, we'll be paid, we're projecting 32 and a half hours from now until the end of the school year. For sure.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a list of, now that we have the MOU regarding our students, a list of our sporting events that would conflict, that would need additional support services such as with ProCare?
So I don't have a list for the board. We do have different size activities based on the sport. And yet we have basically equal support. So a football game on Gonzales is much larger than some of our other sporting events. And so that's why, if in fact we needed additional help, previously we've looked for outside help such as VNA when we've had unique situations. This particular position at this point will primarily support during the day.
So that's their main goal. Would we be able to schedule that out to see, like, if sports med is not able to attend events, because now we're in the spring, so I don't know how many sporting events we have left where their services would be required that would conflict with other sports. Is there a way to get that information?
I can request a calendar from the AD at GHS, Ms. Daniel, as well as Mr. Cuevas's schedule for the remainder of the year.
So they work together to create that sports med will be at this event and there'll be no coverage at this event. Is that?
They are supposed to be doing that,
Okay.
yes,
That's what I just wanted to,
yes.
I didn't know how that worked. Okay. But the main priority of this, of our ProCare is for daily. So with the rate of 70, if the LVN is here during the day and is then asked to go to a sporting event, then we're essentially paying overtime?
No, we have an agreement with the company, with ProCare, that there is to be flexibility. Originally, we asked for some flexibility in the evenings. We right now are focused on the needs during the day. And so we have advised them that this would be within the hours that our students are in attendance.
And then my last question is, with the LVN being under Ms. Berlin, wouldn't it, I mean, just not medical field, putting it out there, wouldn't it be more direct for her to be under our district nurse?
Because it's a contracted service through Ed Services, she'll be directly responsible to Ms. Perline, as is our district nurse. She is also covered by the company in terms of credentialing, because it was brought to my attention that there was an assumption that our nurse would be covering her with her credential. That's not correct. Ms. Perline, much like she does with Nurse Grace, will allocate and direct where she is serving at what time.
Okay. Thank you for those questions and answering. So can I get a motion on 17.7?
So move, Araceli.
Second. By Mr. Lopez.
So I got a motion by Ms. Flores, second by
Jose.
Mr. Mr. Lopez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I'm opposed.
We have a vote of 4-1. Motion passes. 12.8, approval of the Gonzales Unified School District academic calendars for the years 2022, 23, 2023, and 24, and the 2024, 25 school years.
So I would like to express gratitude to both bargaining units, CSEA and GTA. Representatives from each organization worked with our Director of Human Resources, Dr. Hector Galicia, and in fact came to agreement on not one, not two, but 3 consecutive years of school calendars. So we're bringing those forward to the board this evening for approval.
Any public comment?
None.
No public comment. Board questions? No board questions? No, or board comments?
Congratulations. That's a big deal. Okay, sorry.
Can I get a motion?
So move, Araceli.
Second by Mr. Lopez.
Moved by Ms. Flores, second by Mr. Lopez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.9, classified management confidential personnel assignment order number 21/22-06 to open 1 assistant director of student services for expanded learning and engagement opportunities. This is a new position and approved for the proposed job description. Staff report?
So at our last board meeting, our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services brought forth information regarding the need, the social emotional needs of our students at La Gloria. Using our COVID monies, we have identified the job description, which is based on our current expanded learning and engagement opportunity position. There are slight modifications based on the fact that this will be supporting a single site, much like our intervention specialist supports our high school. And so this evening, we're bringing forward to the board the salary schedule and where that would appear.
Yeah. This is.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is, I apologize. Thank you, Yolanda. So this is the position that will oversee GPA 4.0, our summer school programs, our after-school hubs. It is a position that will be contributing to the oversight of the $9 million budget we've received through our various grants.
Board questions? Mr. Lopez?
None at
I'm
this-
sorry,
oh.
Public comments. Do we have any public comments on?
None.
None at this time.
No comment.
I do.
Question, it's question, then we'll do comments. Oh, no question.
Oh, no question. Questions, no questions.
No questions.
So,
Actually, I do have a question. I can't table it then? Well, so that's pulling from the agenda, but then once the agenda is accepted, wouldn't you be able to table any agenda item after it's accepted? Because those are 2 different things. Yeah.
So I apologize, I may not have understood. Is that what we're asking to do with this particular item?
Yeah, but that's what I would like to ask. And the reason why is because, I mean, according to our second interim report, we're facing a fiscal cliff of, significant staffing reductions. And I understand that these are COVID funds.
I need to interject because this evening would be the deadline for us to be doing any layoffs for the coming year.
Mhm.
The district did not bring forward layoffs.
That's not where I was going. If I may finish.
But when you, stated we're going off a fiscal cliff, I want to make sure that the community is aware that that is not an immediate risk
That's
to
fine.
the district.
That's fine. And I didn't mean it. I didn't mean that would happen June 30th, in a couple of months, you know? But my point is that, you know, I'm all for using learning loss funds. I just don't know if learning loss funds should be used for management. In my opinion, it should be used in the classroom, you know, and that's my opinion. But what I would like to do is to table this and try to get some analysis, maybe from NCOE, to see if we, you know, the structure that we have is appropriate, if maybe we're missing some positions, maybe the reporting structure, you know, if we have that down. Because before we start just hiring, you know, directors, assistant directors and such, you know, I would like to have some analysis, some independent analysis that is not just here, to give us direction, or to give us, sorry, not to give us direction, but just to give us recommendations, right? Best practices recommendations. I don't think that this is an urgency right now. And as such, that's why I would like to table it.
So in order to table, we shouldn't have had any comment on it or before, because now we're having discussion.
Yeah.
Tabled item can't have discussion, which we are already in the motion for, and a tabling does require a second.
Yeah.
Did you have?
Right, but the board votes on that. Correct.
Ursula, any questions?
So my question is this position overseeing all sites? I read that it, for PBIS and in community engagement. And so, I know historically we have struggled with PBIS and getting PBIS off the running and going. Is this a position that would really focus on how to better strategize, working with teams on how PBIS and other forms of social emotionally learning can kind of like function and work?
So in fact, that's the same confusion I had. This is the position that Ms. Barba presented last week that will oversee the 22, 24 different plans that contribute to summer school, GPA 4.0, and our after-school tutorials. And so in addition to running a robust program of intervention throughout the year, there is data reporting requirements. And for each of those grants, there is also the requirement that we write the grant explaining how the funding is being used.
Okay.
That is not a certificated, typically a certificated or classified
No.
position.
Okay, thank you. An important position then. Thank you.
So this person, my question is, this person would be reporting to yourself, Yolanda? Or all, okay.
And this is also temporary funding for the duration of some of our grants end in 3 years. So the 23, 24 school year.
I do have one other clarification, just because this is not, so to speak, touching the students as resources. I've shared that before with, especially with counseling and need for counseling at sites. Is this our best use of our resources? Needing counselors at the high school or at Fairview. So that is my concern, considering the salary that I have before me.
So can I answer?
Yes.
Okay, so this isn't one over the other. As per the board's direction, we have priced out the cost of 2 additional counselors, because at the time we discussed it, that was for GHS. As I had stated in our board update, I was going to be proceeding forward with that unless I heard from any board members in opposition. So Ed Services is in fact building that into the budget moving forward. Once again, based on the funding that we have.
So my concern with this is our structure currently. We had, you know, we discussed in our state of the district, the cutbacks that were made in order to move us in the right direction. And now we are having more director positions and more, you know, assistant director positions. I would like to see this brought back with some more clarifications as our structure to see where the need is and where I just want to make sure we're spending the money properly. And I looking forward, I understand we have the COVID funds, but I don't want to just put it out there. So I would like to have this brought back, but obviously it is a vote, so.
What's the grants? I mean, are these grant specific? Is it just the COVID fund?
No, these are 24 different grants that we've brought before the board.
So
It's in the
not
board
all
record.
COVID funds.
All of the funds intent are to accelerate learning, minimize learning loss, implement a strong social emotional learning component. And we have added programs and positions to do that. But what we have done is we've grown program, we've grown FTE, but we have not continued to grow management. The position that was brought back specific to assistant superintendent was to bring back a previously funded position when we had those funds available. We have not expanded exponentially management. And I do appreciate Board Member Ion's comment about a salary study, because in fact, as I've pointed out to the board before, we do not pay a competitive wage at the management level. And so I, in fact, am meeting with an outside provider tomorrow to find out what it would take to reevaluate our competitiveness in terms of our leadership positions.
Can I make comment still?
Well,
Can we go in
questions?
order?
Yeah, we're gonna do, well, we did our questions and comments, so can I get a motion for 12.9?
We did,
No, we did.
we did it? Oh, motion, Araceli Flores.
Second, Mr. Lopez.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have 3 oppositions. I do want to see it back, just, I need some more info regarding where our structure's at. And where
So
the needs are
for
that.
clarification, you're looking for an org chart?
Yes, to see where our needs are regarding our services for our students.
Can we
We
get
could
a
do
Roll call.
Do a roll call, please, on that?
I need additional information on that.
Okay, roll call vote, 12.9. Board member, board president, Celeste Daniel,
No.
board clerk, Araceli.
Yes.
Board member, Jose Lopez,
Yes.
board member, Maria Cuevas,
No?
board member, Cesar Ayon.
No.
So an org chart and
What the duties, what the scope is for each of those positions, so that we know,
so job descriptions?
not so much a job description as,
Job responsibilities?
yeah, what programs they're in charge of.
Yeah, we can bring that back to you.
Because I know
That's
one
an
up here was
existing
like
document.
community outreach, but we just hired Ms. Viejo for our
Parent
pro-
liaison.
So are we crossing? That's what I just want to make sure we're not crossing
We
responsibilities.
have that document. We will bring that back to you our next meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to item 12.10, revision to the administrative certificated salary schedule effective 3/9.
Point of clarification, since 12.9 has not passed, I believe this is not relevant anymore.
Yeah, this is regarding that.
This is regarding that particular position that did not pass in 12.9. So I move that, I don't know what the motion is, but help, Daniel?
It's the salary schedule in regards to the position that we just
Did not vote in favor for.
declined for, and we want more clarification.
Right.
Okay.
Can I get a motion for item 12.10? There's no, yeah.
But why do you need a motion for this again?
Take a vote.
Are we gonna?
Yeah.
You not have a motion and it die because of no motion?
Yeah, more than, I remember that from my training.
I think that's part of it.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay.
So we're going.
Motion, so nobody's motioning.
So no motion, so it dies. Moving on to item 13, consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and are acted on by the Board of Trustees in one motion. There is no discussion of these items prior to the board action unless a member of the board, staff, or public requests specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent agenda. It is understood that the administration recommends approval on all consent items. Each item on the consent agenda approved by the Board of Trustees shall be deemed to have been considered in full and adopted and recommended. Can I get a motion, or is there any public comment on?
No public comment.
It was supposed to be pulled before.
On the consent agenda?
Yeah, would have been pulled at the beginning.
Oh, no, no, we can pull it now. You're right, I'm sorry. Is there any item, each item, it says each item, so unless somebody recommends for something to be pulled.
I think there was an item that I gave you 13.12. It did not require board approval, so we wanted to pull the item from the consent agenda.
What number again?
13 to appoint a secretary.
13.12. Yeah. That's the one that,
Come we didn't do this at the beginning.
I provided you guys. It was 13.12. So at the request of HR personnel, we pulled it from the consent agenda. It doesn't require board approval.
That's not, I don't believe that's 13.12, because 13.12 is actually a substitute teacher position, which is part of the certificate of bargaining.
No, that's what it's.
No, it
there.
says classified. Hector, can I ask for your assistance here? So this is, our personnel coordinator had requested that item number 1312 be pulled from the agenda as it is part of an MOU with CSEA, so it doesn't require board approval. But I have 1312 as authorizing the hiring of a substitute teacher.
Yeah, but it says it's.
Right, but it's not a CSEA position.
It
So,
says MOU. with
so I'm
CSEA.
not quite sure what the. Oh, he's one of our instructional, I see.
Can you explain? Oh,
Yes, so he currently is a CSEA member, but as was previously brought before the board, we have an MOU with CSEA for CSEA members that have a BA and can potentially sub for us. So that is why we're pulling that particular item. Thank you.
Clarification. So Item 13.12 will be pulled.
Okay.
Any other items? Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move, Araceli.
Moved by Ms. Flores,
Second by Mr. Lopez.
second by Mr. Lopez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Cesar is not.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Young was here. Item 14, a governing board, a governance team comments. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you. Yes, again, thank you, everybody, for coming out. Want to, again, echo my words of, invitation to our community as we move forward. I invite, all our young people that are of age, 18 and older, that want to get involved in our community, that want to make a change, that want to have an impact in your local community. Get involved. Come in, join us here in our meetings. See, what leadership is about. Trust me, this is not the best. We're always improving ourselves and making things better, but we need you guys to be involved. We need you guys to point out to us, where we need to improve, what areas, how we can become better. So with that in mind, as we move forward with the redistricting of our district, I want this to, hopefully be a process that's going to unite us, make us a better and a stronger community, that it's going to uplift everyone's voice, that we're going to see, a better representation of all of us, of all our young people here in our community, and to really have a meaningful impact in the lives of these young people. Also want to, again, thank our leadership here in the district, all our staff, our employees, from our superintendent all the way down to the janitors, the cooks, the bus drivers, our teachers, aides, everybody, legal too, that, all of you, it takes all of us to make a team, to work together, to collaborate. We might not always agree, and we have differences of opinion and strong ones. It's obvious, we can all see it. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that we ran, not for our own personal egos and, I want to accomplish this and because it's me, I'm going to get this done. No, rather, leadership and service is about, others. It's about, making an impactful, making an impact, meaningful impact in the lives of other people. And that requires a lot of listening, a lot of patience. And trust me, I need to grow in that area. But together, I think, we can do it. It's, just look at the current events, what's happening across the world. And it's when you think about that, you're like, whoa. So again, I hope that this process of redistricting, makes us a stronger community. And at the end of the day, that our young people can look back and say, yeah, they made the right choice. And again, to our leadership, thank you for everything you've done. I trust your work. I know I've been in the district office, in all of your offices, watching the hard work you do every day to make a positive impact in the life of our young people. And for that, I am forever grateful. So again, I invite everybody to get involved in your community. Thank you.
Ms. Cuevas.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thanks for showing up. I do want to express that the redistricting does still make me quite nervous. I wish that whatever community member was concerned about this would have reached out to us and we could have maybe figured out a way to work together, because now, I mean, receiving that letter now, it's still gonna cost us, which is concerning to me. And I really hope that we do have community members within the areas who would like to participate and sit on the board. So, I invite you guys, like mentioned before, this summer will be coming up and you guys will be able to sign up to, hopefully sit on this seat. So please reach out to any community members who have expressed interest, and, join us here and take a seat and use your voice. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cuevas. Mr. Ayon.
Thank you. I think this is a lesson to the public and to everybody of the failures of our legal profession, with all respect, Daniel. The thing is that when you are basically are forced to do a decision based on potential litigation, you know that those people do not have the best interests of the district. They just basically say, you have to do this or else we'll sue you. And basically it's going to cost you money either way, and I really do want to encourage our young people to please help our legal profession right these wrongs. Not today, not tomorrow, but maybe when you go to college, maybe when you become a lawyer, then you can fix these problems that are broken in our system. Having said that, I am optimistic, that that despite, in my opinion, this having no merit at all and not having support from the majority of our people, that despite that, and despite being forced and coerced and threatened into making a decision only because of legal liability, despite all that, I do hope that it benefits our district somehow, some way. But I think this is a lesson on bullying, on getting you away with just the threat of potential litigation. And I think the people who have brought this forward should be ashamed of themselves. We don't teach these type of lessons to our kids. Adults shouldn't engage in these type of actions either. Thank you.
Ms. Flores? Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
So, since this is a hot topic, I just think that, what I am happy to see La Gloria and Fairview really start young and getting our youth civically engaged. It is, in my opinion, that we really do not reach out and really engage our youth and even our parents on how to be more civically engaged in our government ran systems. And if we did that, I think we would have more people aware, engaged, and they'd have a better understanding of how these systems work and who really holds power. So I'm happy to hear that La Gloria and Fairview have these little councils going, because we really should start young and teaching our young people who will eventually become voters on what it means to be civically involved. To that, I did attend the ninth grade orientation as a mom, although I hear it all the time. You're always a board member, no matter what. And that is true, because even though I tried to just be a mom that day, I was greeted as a board member. And so as a board member, I did try to get to know staff members that I typically don't know, talk to the adults that I typically don't, whose names I don't hear. And it was really refreshing to see. I didn't really make it to the other side, to the left side of the gym, but it was really exciting to see what that, I'm gonna get it wrong, the Gear Up, Stay Up, Focused, okay. Monica Palomares, her energy is just super, super addictive. And it's nice to see that she's in that position, and I can only imagine how much fun her students have in her classroom. I did get to meet the culinary arts teacher, and she had some really good goodies, and I'm grateful that she was able to have enough for everyone to take home. I met the science teacher, who was really cool. I met the Mesa girls, which was impressive because it was girls. And I was like, I just loved seeing that. And then the ag science was really fun. She was the lady that we saw in the summer, I think, where she was teaching cell stuff using Oreos, and all her classroom was engaged. Yes. And then that's as far as I made it. And I got to see some, old school 95 classmates, which is always great to see, because we're not really out there. So again, thank you for everybody and the energy of everybody. And you just did see the passion, which is really what I hope as a board, we can continue to foster is the passion that our employees from the top down have for our students. And it takes work. And, and when you sit in this seat and you really learn every single person's job, there's a different level of respect that you have for the work it takes to actually run this district. When I was a parent organizing, I didn't know until I got to learn and meet everybody and really understand the job that they did. Innovation Center is beautiful. Mr. Twist should be proud. The fact that you can do ceramics via 3D printing is mind-boggling. I really love the fact that the adults stepped to the side and let the students host it. I thought that was really good because the students really got to engage with the parents. And it was really fun to see parents who are not, may not be so technically advanced, be so impressed and wowed by the technology in the Innovation Center. And I'm hoping Jared hears me because someone is owed their little Aztec calendar. I forget the parent's name, but I hope he didn't. And I also want to congratulate Yvette and her leadership team. The State of the District presentation was impressive. I think when all the drama and the chatter quiets, you really get to see the work that's done, and you really get to see the good things that our district has achieved and the good work that the leadership and the teachers all have accomplished and that the students have accomplished. And, I really hope that people get to see that on our YouTube channel, because it really highlights the positive work that we've done. There's always, we're so easy to talk about the negative stuff, but we don't run to the positivity. So I want to just thank the leadership team. I think Celeste and I were clapping as much as we could for the work that everyone's done. So with that being said, that's all I got.
So I was busy since our last meeting. I do want to recognize it's National Reading Month. Me and my daughters are very avid readers. We have challenge going on. So I encourage all of our students to pick up a book during National Reading Month. Like I said, myself and my daughters have a reading challenge for the year. But I challenge all of our students to pick up a book and read a book. Doesn't matter what it is. I attended my president training. I'm learning so much. So that has been great. I was able to attend the State of the District event, as well as the opening of the Innovation Center. And I have to echo for our site, it was so awesome in there. I do have to say I got to win a prize because I guessed the riddle right. She's gonna fight me on that one, but I got it right. No, I got the riddle right. It was a math question and I got it right. But yeah, it was amazing. The students did it all. So I loved seeing, as a teacher, seeing the students direct, because that's the direction you want to go, and having them present and taking you to the stations and explaining what each station did. So it was awesome, as well as Alvin Food Services, who made some amazing goodies. I was about ready to take the whole jug of soup with me home. So thank you to him and his staff for being there and supplying those goodies for us. I also got to attend the welcoming night for the 8th graders, soon to be 9th graders. Such a great event. My daughter did get to attend that when she was going to be a freshman, and boy, did that event grow. And it was a really nice event. I got lots of hugs from staff, so it was nice to see the staff here and to see what everything was doing. So Mr. Soriano already has plans for the next one, so I'm expecting it to be bigger and better, although it was really well attended, and there was so many things. I didn't get to taste the goodies from culinary, unfortunately, but like I said, it was a really nice event. It's nice to see the parents and the kids there looking at what they want to do and what what we have to offer. So it was a really good event. And I did have a parent tell me, I came to see what's here, what do we have? So that was nice to hear as well. I also want to give a big thank you to Candace and Madonna. I had a meeting last week regarding CTE. Learned a lot of new vocabulary about sectors and pathways. So thank you, Candace and Madonna, for doing that. And I look forward to this Friday. I'm going to be having my next site visit with Fairview and La Gloria, so I'm staying busy. So those are all my comments. 14.3, future meeting dates. I'm sorry, 14.2, future agenda item requests. Mr. Lopez,
None at this time. Thank you.
Ms. Cuevas,
No, no, thank you.
Mr. Ion?
Yes, I would like to request that we engage with MCOE for an analysis of our organizational structure, including reports to structure, as I said before.
So the entire organization, including classified and certificated staff?
Yes, please.
Excellent. Thank you.
That would be a presentation.
Yes, first we have to even see if MCOE will do that.
Okay. Ms. Flores?
Is, I know that we were given this information last spring. Could we get a follow-up for this year regarding our ADA and declining enrollment? I think we need to look at why kids are not being enrolled, or why they're not staying in our district. And then I guess, I don't know if it's an agenda or a question, but is the question in regards to why students are not being enrolled, is that a standard form? Can we create our own form?
So we have a log of inter and intra-district transfers, and we can bring that data back. And yes, it does have a reason for either taking a student out or bringing a student in.
Is there room for, is it like check the box, or do people get to write in why?
No, they can, for example, they write employment, childcare, et
Okay.
cetera.
And can that information be included?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
I think there's a line on there for programs as well, right? Offerings.
Correct.
So that's also. And mine's, I think it's supposed to be up for the 22nd, but I don't see it on there. So I just want to clarify for our parent contact regarding Blackboard or Aptigee or Parent Square.
So in fact, that is a conflict for our Director of Technology with Q. So it is being pushed to the April 12th meeting.
Okay.
And we are also still waiting on Dr. Starling's recovery so that he and Ms. Daniel can provide an update on what will remain in terms of COVID protocols, if any at all.
Okay. Item 14.3, future meeting dates. Those are all there. Self-explanatory. Then we're going to go into item 15.1, public employee dismissal, discipline release, government code section 54957. So adjourning to closed session.
Sure. Yeah.
We should order some food. I don't want to stay here any second longer.
So let's after close though, we have to report back.
Yeah, but we've done it before. Your report, yeah, I can go. Yeah, that's what she needs.
Yeah, make sure you note your adjournment.
Got it. Where's the clerk? She needs to do. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
Say it's National Reading Week.
Oh.
In case you're interested in that.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. No, but it had to be during, when you get to the public comment. Yes. So when he said that, I know. Mhm. Yeah, so, which I figured, I will. Yeah, we opened the. So,